Born into the harsh realities of North Carolina in the mid-19th century, James Duke did the unthinkable, rising from poverty to build an industrial empire that transformed America. Known for his relentless work ethic and shrewd business sense, Duke revolutionized the tobacco industry and later ventured into hydroelectric power, leaving a lasting impact on the American South. Despite this enormous success, Duke was rarely in the spotlight, and yet his influence spanned continents, impacting generations. Yet behind his business success was a man driven by personal loss, family loyalty, and a desire to give back. There was more to Duke than the ruthless businessman many perceived him to be. Behind closed doors, he was a loving father, a generous benefactor, and a man of profound vision. A victim of the harsh realities of the post-Civil War South, Duke knew the sting of loss and the burden of responsibility from a young age. But how did a man armed with only a vision and relentless work ethic carve out one of the greatest fortunes in U.S. history, and directed his wealth toward a philanthropic legacy of generosity that continues to shape the lives of millions today? This is the untold story of James Buchanan Duke. Chapter 1: Duke's Humble Beginnings. James Buchanan Duke, or Buck as he was known to his family, was born into a world of hardship on December 23, 1856, in rural Durham, North Carolina. The son of Washington and Artelia Roney Duke, Buck grew up amidst the rolling fields of a modest farm, where hard work was not just a choice but a necessity. Life in the rural South was unforgiving. It was a time of poor roads, rough hands, and endless toil. The Civil War ravaged the land and its people. For the Duke family, life was particularly hard. Just 2 years after Buck's birth, tragedy struck. In 1858, his mother Artelia died of typhoid fever, leaving Washington Duke, now a widower, to care for his children alone. The death of Duke's older brother Sidney from the same illness just days earlier compounded the family's grief. Growing up without a mother, young Buck Duke learned the lessons of hardship and perseverance early. As the country descended into civil war, Buck witnessed the full weight of sacrifice. In 1863, Washington Duke, now in his 40s, was conscripted into the Confederate Navy. His departure left the children to be cared for by relatives. By war's end, Washington Duke had been captured by Union forces and held as a prisoner of war. After the Confederacy's defeat, he returned home, on foot, walking 130 miles back to Durham. What he found upon his return was a farm in ruin. Years of neglect had left the land barren, but there was one asset left, a storehouse filled with dried tobacco leaves. Washington Duke, with the help of his children, began again from scratch, replanting the seeds of their future in the golden fields of tobacco. Chapter 2: The Birth of a Tobacco Empire. The post-war South was a land of opportunity for those willing to work hard, and the Duke family epitomized that spirit. Washington Duke, with young Buck and his siblings by his side, began growing and producing tobacco. But this was no large-scale operation. It was a true family business, built quite literally from the ground up. Day in and day out, the Dukes toiled, hand-packing tobacco leaves into cloth bags that Mary Duke, Buck's sister, had sewn. From early light until dusk, they worked tirelessly, using a broken-down wagon pulled by mules to sell their product in nearby towns. The operation was humble, but the foundation of a dynasty was taking shape. "We beat the tobacco up with sticks," Duke would later recall, "and ran it through a fine wire sieve." The family's product was modest, but Washington Duke had a vision. He traveled by rail, promoting their tobacco, slowly expanding their reach. Soon, their small operation grew into one of the most prominent tobacco businesses in the region. By the 1880s, James Duke, now a young man with a sharp mind for business, was ready to take the family's venture to new heights. He inherited not just his father's work ethic, but an insatiable drive to succeed. The tobacco market was competitive, but Buck had a secret weapon: innovation. In 1881, James made the decision that would change everything. He invested in the Bonsack machine, a revolutionary invention that could roll cigarettes faster and more efficiently than by hand. While others clung to traditional methods, James Duke saw the future. This machine allowed him to mass-produce cigarettes at an unprecedented scale, and with it, he laid the foundation for an empire. Chapter 3: The rise of American tobacco. The Bonsack machine was just the beginning. With production ramped up, Duke had one goal: to dominate the tobacco industry. His vision extended far beyond the borders of North Carolina. He wanted to control the entire market. And so, armed with innovation and an unmatched drive, Duke launched an aggressive campaign to outmaneuver his competition. Duke was relentless in his pursuit of market dominance. He slashed prices, flooded the market with his cigarettes, and outpaced his rivals in both production and distribution. His advertising campaigns were bold and innovative, offering free samples, using coupons, and covering billboards with suggestive imagery that drew in consumers. It was a tactic that shocked his father, Washington Duke, who found such gimmicks distasteful, but Buck understood the power of marketing to the masses. By 1890, Duke had done what many thought impossible. He founded the American Tobacco Company, a conglomerate that would soon control 90% of the cigarette market in the United States. Through a series of acquisitions and mergers, Duke expanded his empire, not just nationally, but internationally, establishing a foothold in England and other global markets. American Tobacco wasn't just a company, it was a monopoly. And for a time, it seemed unstoppable. But Duke wasn't just content with being the biggest player in tobacco. He saw further, dreaming of new ventures that would diversify his holdings and shield his fortune from the growing scrutiny of regulators. Chapter 4: Time of Trials and Triumphs. With success, however, came challenges. By the early 1900s, Duke's empire was so vast that it drew the attention of the federal government. The American Tobacco Company, with its near-complete control over the cigarette market, was accused of being a monopoly in violation of the Sherman Antitrust Act. In 1911, after years of investigation, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled against Duke's company, ordering it to be broken up. For many industrialists, this would have been a devastating blow. But not for James Duke. Ever the strategist, Duke had long since diversified his interests. Years before the antitrust ruling, Duke had begun investing in other industries: textiles, banking, and perhaps most significantly, hydroelectric power. Duke saw the potential in the rushing waters of the Carolinas rivers. Along with his brother Benjamin, he founded the Southern Power Company, which would later become Duke Energy, one of the largest energy providers in the nation. Duke's vision extended beyond tobacco, and this diversification allowed him to weather the breakup of his company with little financial damage. In fact, it was during this period that he began to think about how best to use his fortune for the greater good. Chapter 5: A Legacy Like No Other. As his wealth grew, Duke's thoughts turned toward his legacy. He had built an empire, but now he wanted to give back. Inspired by the philanthropic spirit of his father, Washington Duke, who had always given generously to the Methodist Church and to education, Buck began to plan for something far greater: a lasting contribution to the people of the Carolinas. In 1924, Duke established the Duke Endowment, a charitable trust with an initial gift of $40 million. It was one of the largest philanthropic acts of its time, aimed at improving education, healthcare, and child welfare in North and South Carolina. Among the beneficiaries was Trinity College, which was renamed Duke University in honor of the family's contributions. The university, still one of the top institutions in the world, stands as a testament to his vision for the future. But Duke's philanthropy wasn't limited to education. His endowment supported hospitals, orphanages, rural churches, and various other causes aimed at improving the lives of the people in the Carolinas. The geographical limits of his generosity ensured that his legacy would have the greatest impact on the region that had shaped him. Duke was a man of quiet determination, a visionary who reshaped industries, built lasting institutions, and left behind a legacy that continues to impact millions. Though he preferred to work behind the scenes, his influence was felt across 2 continents, in the businesses he built and the lives he touched through his philanthropy. Today, from the halls of Duke University to the offices of Duke Energy, his name lives on. But his true legacy lies in the countless lives changed by the Duke Endowment, an enduring testament to a man who believed in the power of giving back. What's the best lesson from James Duke's story? Let me know down in the comments section. Make sure to give this video a like and subscribe for more content. Thanks for watching, and remember to check out our other videos on various interesting topics. Till next time, stay blessed.